Welcome back, y'all, and happy Friday. Today, we're going to update you on our 2026 class. And it's still very early on in this process, but things are really about to start to heat up because most of the players will be choosing their schools over the summer. That's how things have typically gone. And Tennessee's off to a very good start. I think that the foundation of this class looks really good. If we can finish top three or if we can finish number one, it's going to be predicated off of what do we do from now all the way through the summer. And we can tell the players that we're in a really good spot with based off the ones that have already set up their OVs with Tennessee. So we'll go through that list today. I'll just kind of introduce you to some of these players. You might not have heard some of the names, but they're all really, really good. And we'll also talk about where I feel like the staff might need to do a little bit of a better job as far as bringing in talent at different positions. So as always, y'all, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, y'all, we'll start with the offensive lineman. And the first one's going to be Brett Colajay. He's a four-star interior offensive lineman, listed at 6'5", 295 pounds. He does play at IMG Academy, and he's really good, everything that we want with an interior offensive lineman. And this is a spot that Tennessee's definitely targeting hard in 2026, but he is scheduled to visit us on June the 20th. He also has a visit set up with Miami on June the 6th and another one with UGA on June the 13th. I think that it's a good look that right now Tennessee is his final OV. I think that he's going to end up choosing us whenever it's all said and done. Next is four-star interior offensive lineman Leo Delaney, listed at 6'5", 275 pounds. He did play at Providence Day High School, so he was teammates with David Sanders. Obviously, David has been working on him behind the scenes pretty much since last year, but I feel very good about Leo coming on up to Knoxville. Now, he can play at center, or I feel like he can play at guard, and he is planning on getting a visit set up sometime in June. I don't know that he has any other OV set up anywhere else. Was not able to find it, so that's a really good look for us as Vol fans because he's a very athletic lineman that can do a lot of good things for us moving forward. All right, y'all, now let's talk about the edge rushers, and the first one's going to be Anthony Jones. He's a four-star, listed at 6'4", 215 pounds. He is from Irvine, California, so it's going to be a tough pull, I think, to get a player from that far away. But the great news is he does have an OV set up with us on June the 20th. His other OV is set up with UCLA on June the 6th. So like we talked about, typically, you know, the team that gets that last OV is probably going to be in the best spot. So we'll see what happens here. He's a very good football player, and I think that it doesn't really matter where you come from. Everybody wants to come and play for Coach G. Next player is Tristan Givens. He's a four-star edge from Carver, Columbus here in Georgia. He's listed at 6'4", 205 pounds. And he's a guy that only has one visit set up, and it is with our Tennessee Volunteers on June the 6th. So that's a great look because he is coming from the state of Georgia. Like I said, some of these kids don't want to stay in Georgia. They don't want to go play for Kirby Smart and all those guys. So I think that that's a great look anytime that the only visit, or I would say the first visit that's been set up, is with Tennessee, because most of these players will continue to schedule some OVs, but I feel like we're in a very good spot with Tristan Givens. And the last edge that we'll talk about today is Drake Quinn. He's another four-star, listed at 6'4", 220 pounds. He plays at GAC here in Georgia, and he doesn't have any OV set up just yet, but he is in the process of getting one set up with Tennessee. Not quite sure if that's going to come in the spring. It's probably going to come over the summer, but he is expected to come up and visit us over the spring. So that's another really good look, right? This is another player from the state of Georgia that hasn't set up any OVs with Georgia, that is an edge rusher that Georgia definitely wants, that wants to come to Tennessee. So we're doing a great job, I feel like, with these edges. All right, y'all, now let's take a look at the defensive tackles. We have more people committing to official visits out of this position group than anywhere else. And the first one is going to be Darius Gray. He's a four-star, listed at 6'3", 285 pounds. He is from Richmond, Virginia, and he has several OVs already set up. So ours is going to be on June the 7th. He also has Clemson on May the 31st. LSU is June the 14th. Penn State is June the 17th. Then he has South Carolina last on June the 20th. So is South Carolina the front runner here? I'm not quite sure, but he's a guy that I've seen mentioned with Tennessee for a long time, and we're definitely doing our due diligence to make sure that we can go out and get as many good interior defensive linemen as possible, and I think that we're doing a really, really good job so far. Next is Emmanuel Ruffin, and he's listed at 6'5", 280 pounds. He is a four-star with Rivals, and he is from Alabama. So far, he has our visit set up for June the 13th, but he also has LSU May the 30th. Florida's on June the 6th, and he has Alabama on June the 20th. So is LSU going to be the front runner here because they're last? I don't know that you could say that necessarily, but obviously this is a big dude that can do a lot of great things, and it's exactly what Tennessee's looking for. He's a guy that can get up over probably 330 pounds. Tennessee needs those zero techs for us to have the type of defenses that we've had previously, especially if you're going to talk about the 2024 defense. So looking forward to seeing what happens with this one, and hopefully we can seal this thing on up. Next is Keyshawn Stanton. He's another 4-star listed at 6'3", 260 pounds, and he is from North Carolina. We know that Tennessee does a really good job in the state of North Carolina, especially in that Charlotte area. He's got a lot of visits already set up just because everybody wants the good interior defensive lineman. So this is a good sign that everyone wants to target him. But so far, he has us set up for June the 13th. He has Auburn on May the 16th. Miami is on May the 30th. Penn State is June the 6th. And NC State is on June the 20th. So we're going to have our hands full trying to fight off all these different schools. But that's how you know that you're going out and targeting very good football players. All right, and the last defensive lineman that we're going to talk about today is J.J. Finch, who I think is more of a strong side DN once he fills out some, but he's listed at 6'3", 220 pounds. He is from Indianapolis, and he's a very good football player, but at this point, he doesn't have any OV set up. He is working to get one set up with Tennessee, and he's a player that we are expecting to be up on campus unofficially in the spring. Next is Tristan Keys. He's the only wide receiver that we'll talk about today. He is a 5-star from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, listed at 6'2", 185 pounds, and he has several OVs already set up. We are one of them, but he also has LSU, Texas A&M, Miami, Alabama, and Auburn, and we don't have the dates for any of these, so we'll see what happens, but he has come out and said that he's planning on choosing a school sometime probably in June, maybe July. So before the football season starts for his high school team, he wants to have everything done. Now, we know that he's been trending towards Tennessee for quite some time, and actually he was maybe trending a little bit harder earlier on in this process. He's really close with guys like Faison Brandon. So hopefully Faison and the rest of the staff can bring him on home, because I think he's going to be an absolute and total stud on the next level. Next is 3-star safety Craig Tudd, and he's actually a 4-star with 24/7 Sports, but he's listed at 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. He is from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, so he's an in-state guy, and he is going to be visiting Tennessee at some point in June. The date's not quite ironed out yet. I haven't seen anywhere else that he set up any other OVs. He might be in the process of getting that set up, but I think that we're in a pretty good spot with him. Now, this is a spot I can tell you right here, right now, Tennessee needs to be bringing in a lot more safeties. I just don't understand why we can't bring in the really high caliber safeties, but he's one that I think is underrated. So hopefully things go well over these next couple of months. All right, y'all. The last player is 4-star linebacker T.J. White, listed at 6'3", 200 pounds, and he's also from Mississippi. So he does have a OV set up with Florida State June the 6th, and he's planning on visiting Tennessee at some point in June as well. Hopefully it's more towards the end of June, but he's another very, very good player, and I'm happy to see that Tennessee's not shying away from going out and targeting more linebackers. So we can already see that linebacker is another very strong point of emphasis for this staff. So based off what we looked at today and knowing who's already committed in this class, I feel like Tennessee's doing a good job in the normal spots. We need to pick up the pace in the normal spots as well. So running back, cornerback, I would say those two especially, because you got to bring in players every single season at those spots. And then safety. We're doing a pretty good job at safety, because you might be able to get away if you bring in, like 1 or 2 safeties. You might not have to bring in a safety in the following year, but running back and cornerback, you got to bring in bodies every single season. And the simple fact that we don't have any OV set up to this point is a little bit concerning. It's not going to be a huge concern until I'd say maybe about May. If we don't have any OV set up in May, then we've got a very big problem, and we might need to go out and hire somebody that can kind of close some of these deals, even if that's all they do to get those players up on campus. And I know that Savion Hitter, who was a 5-star running back, I know that he probably will end up visiting Tennessee. He hasn't set up any OVs just yet. Like we said, it's still early on in this process, but I'm still kind of concerned there, because we know that we need a running back. Why don't we have somebody else set up for an OV? Or we're not just going to target one player, I'm sure. So those types of things do frustrate me. Cornerback, absolutely no excuse. We should have at least one set up at this point, because over the course of, all the way through the summer, we should probably, be trying to bring up 3 to 4 different cornerbacks for OVs, because you're not going to land them all. You might have to bring up more. So I'm still a little bit concerned. Safety, we're doing okay. We do have Craig Tudd that's going to be coming up. He's an in-state guy. He's a blue chip caliber player as far as I'm concerned. I think he's going to be very good. I think that we can close the deal there. But why don't we have 2 or 3 more? Like, before this whole thing is over with, we need to have had, maybe 3 or 4, maybe even 5 or 6 safeties come up on OVs, because, again, you just never know what these kids are going to do, and you need to have several options, and safety is a spot that we definitely need to try to upgrade at, and we're going to be losing a whole lot of safeties after this season. So a little bit concerned, but not overly concerned just yet. I wanted to point that out for everybody. But those are my thoughts. Please leave yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.